Here she is. Alright, we have Darth Traya. She is going to be the raid reward. And the lightsabers, everything, just, it's amazing. Alright, so she is a Sith support who punishes enemies for relying on others. So Sith Traya is kind of like the Lord of Betrayal. So that was kind of the motivation behind her kit. Let's take a look. Alright. Her basic Deceptive Strike. Deal special damage to the target enemy and daze them for 2 turns. That's kind of important because the rest of the parts of her kit that you'll see punish, counters, and assists. So this is kind of mitigating. This is really the important part of this is going to be nullifying turn meter gain. But you kind of want the enemy to be countering and assisting because they get punished for that, as you'll see later in the kit. But the important part of this, you probably want to do this to tunes that you don't want to be gaining turn meter, like how Secret Intel gives turn meter to Rey, something like that. Then she will inflict all debuffs on the allies, so kind of like a Cassian mechanic. All the debuffs on all the allies go onto the enemy for 1 turn, and if that happens, it will reduce the cooldown of her first special, Saber Storm, by 1. And Saber Storm, just look at this animation. I really don't want to be on the receiving end of this and have all these lightsabers flying at me. Oh, Lord. Alright, so, can I make myself a little smaller? Okay, so she does damage to the target enemy, and she'll inflict tenacity down. Then, if she has full health, she will also, she'll attack again, and then she'll inflict ability block. So if you're thinking about like the beginning of the battle, that's what's going to be happening. So you can kind of pick the person that you want to ability block. And then if the target has a buff, she will attack a 3rd time. So this is the 3 sabers are kind of coming into play here. And she will inflict healing immunity. And this attack can't be evaded. I think all of her attacks can't be evaded. So this kit is really anti-Rey, anti-CLS. It's just... Her second special, Isolate. This one is really cool. This one is really creative. Okay. It'll dispel all their buffs, the person she's attacking. It'll increase the cooldowns by 1, which is an interesting kind of tie-in to Nihilus, but it's just a single target. It will inflict isolation on 1 enemy until someone else is isolated or until she's defeated. So only 1 person can be isolated at a time, and once she's gone, it's kind of like Fracture. Once she's gone, it'll go away. It will reduce one of your allies' cooldowns by 1. So not only are you increasing an enemy's cooldowns, you are reducing an ally's cooldowns and giving them protection. And isolated can't be copied, dispelled, resisted, blah, blah, blah. And it can't be evaded. Now, what does isolation do? Isolation is really cool. Basically, so the way that Traya is approached by the devs, they wanted to kind of play off of her whole like standalone thing. So what's going to happen is it's going to turn your tune into like a solo person that can't interact with the rest of your team. So they can't gain any buffs. They can't attack out of turn. They can't give anyone buffs. They can't call anyone to assist. It's literally like they're standing alone, and then during the rest of the team's turns, they can't interact with that tune. So that tune can't be buffed or be called to assist or anything. It's literally like they're being taken out of the team, which is a very interesting mechanic. And it's a very interesting way of playing into her idea of that like bonds to other people are weakness and you should stand alone. This is the list of the positive effects that are included when you can't gain buffs You can't gain turn meter, you can't assist, you can't revive, you can't equalize health. You're literally like cut off from the group. This is crazy. And it has a cooldown of 4, which is not that long. Alright. She has a leadership. It has a Zeta. Her leadership and her unique have Zetas. Sith allies have 40% critical avoidance. Cool. That's kind of an interesting thing because as we saw with Scion's unique and in her unique, if Nihilus or Scion are critically hit, then nice things happen. So it's kind of interesting that they have crit avoidance. I guess that's kind of like a balancing game. Or maybe like how Kenobi, you want him taunting when he's critically hit, but then he'll give crit immunity, so it's kind of like a balancing game in the kit like that. I would guess. And they also gain a ton of potency, like a ton of potency, 40%, that's huge. I would have killed to have 40% potency on my T-Bow a year ago. When a debuffed enemy takes damage, all Sith allies recover 10% health. There are a ton of debuffs from the Sith, so that's going to be happening a lot. When an enemy uses an ability outside of their turn, so an enemy using an ability outside of their turn, a basic is technically an ability, so this is them countering or assisting. They take damage equal to 35% of their max health, and the damage can't defeat them. So basically it's taking away health if you counter or assist. So bye Luke and bye Rey. When an enemy gains a buff outside of their turn, they lose offense until the end of their next turn. So they're going to have to take a turn with low offense. So someone like gaining a buff outside of your turn is very common. Like Rex's tenacity up, or Chase's heal over times, or like the auto taunters, or Kenobi's foresight. There's a ton of buffs being gained out of turn. So this is a very interesting component to a leadership. Alright. Her unique. Compassion is weakness. This is so cold. Oof. Alright, this also has a Zeta. When an ally suffers a debuff, she will gain protection, bonus protection, and that'll stack until her next turn. At the start of a Sith ally turn, she will, this part is wonderful, she will cleanse them, but then she will kind of suck away health for it. So this is kind of like a fulcrum mechanic where she's cleansing herself, but she'll take damage for cleansing herself. This is similar. And when we were learning about Nihilus and Scion and Traya and how they were going to kind of work together, it was like they were going to have these uniques that kind of helped each other, but might also kind of hinder each other because they are Sith after all. So it was this kind of like game being played. And we're definitely seeing this. And then the last part of her unique is when Nihilus or Scion are critically hit or inflicted with a debuff, she'll start stacking offense. So anytime you have a tune that's stacking buffs, that's a little bit worrisome and you kind of want to take them out first. But if you have Traya, Nihilus, and Scion, all three of them have these like components of their kits that you don't want to leave them alone for too long. So it's kind of like this game of who do you take out first, and then you think about the raid and what's gonna happen in the raid. And this is the first video I'm making, and then the second video I'm making is gonna be the raid. So if you've watched my raid video already, then you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, then right now you need to go watch the raid video and go, oh crap. So I haven't really seen her in action. This kit looks like a lot of fun. I like the idea behind it. I really like the idea of isolate. I think it's a really interesting mechanic being introduced into the game. But like any new character, especially since we never even got our hands on her. With Scion, we kind of got to play with him a little bit, but with this one, we'll just have to see. But I mean, judging off of Kenobi and Han, the Raid Aurora characters are pretty fun. So We'll see. On to the raid now.